dates. These are the dates you got to go to the promoters.
Yeah.
They just give us the fight. So sometimes they clash. But you tend to think they could try and work together to some point. I don't know what you do. And do you stagger the main events? But then again, you're still losing the audiences, and TV won't do that, and also the gates are affected that way.
You're diluting your coverage. Any of those three fights would be a 2 or 3 day job for us here at Five Live.
I would say that you're not diluting your product if you literally put the main event on at 9 o'clock and not 11. I would say that much.
So on the night, that's a clever little sleight of hand, little trick. But what is particularly interesting? What is particularly interesting is that the 6 fighters, assume it was a Coley. For Coley was to fight Chris Smith, Michael Conlan fights Alberto Lopez, and Mauricio Lara and Lee Wood. What would be really odd, and this has never happened in the history of Five Live, and I don't think it may never have happened. No, it would never happen in the history of Five Live. Is that all 6 of the boxers involved in the world title fights have in the last year been on Five in major fights. In Chris Smith's case, major fight, I think the British title fight, and the others in actual world title fights. That's ridiculous depth. It's just a ridiculous situation, and it needs absolutely to be solved in some way, shape or form. And I know there are armchair fans, people at home who will work it out. They'll get one on the radio, they'll get one on their phone, they'll get one on their laptop, they'll get one on their television. I understand that, but I just think it's all those 3 fights in any month, in any decade, in any year, in any decade would be okay. I'm going to ask you this, assuming it's Chris Smith, I'll ask you first, Barry. Assuming it's Chris Smith against Lawrence Coley, okay, which of the 3 are you going to as a fan? You've just had a flutter, you've won 50 quid on the lottery, you can go to any one of those 3 fights. Where are you going as a fan? Not as the king pundit, as a fan. Come on, Barry.
As a fan, I stay. There's never a better night of boxing when you're in Belfast. It's the greatest boxing city on the planet for me. It's the atmosphere is unrivaled, and that would be the reason. Not so much the fight itself, but I want to try Bournemouth, because when they went to Bournemouth, Sky recently, it reminded me of the 90s when TV used to travel, not just go to main cities, used to travel around the country and get fighters that they've always should have their home support in their home cities or towns, it doesn't matter, and build support like that. And that's what Bill Smith's done. And with a short space of time, he's gone from 2 events in Bournemouth, now he's in a stadium.
And we talked about on the first event, which was the Isaac Chamberlain night, which was just legendary. The doors were open, it was sweltering hot, it was late July, like the 30th of July or something like that. And it really felt in there like a special event. And sure, it was just the Chamberlain fight, so it wasn't a major world title fight. But it felt like an event, and the atmosphere there, I mean, I agree with you, something happens in Belfast, it's different, especially if there's a local fighter that can stir a few emotions.
But I would say the story of Lee Wood and Lara is amazing.
I tell you what, mate, I never had you down as a splinter bum boy, but I'm telling you, there are some proper. He's relentless.
He can't be he's a people pleaser. He can't be a people pleaser in boxing.
Everyone, Shane, tell him.
It's called freelance. Shane.
Yeah, Shane, go, where are you going? You're not training Chris Smith, okay? You've been given 50 quid. Where are you buying the cheapest seat in the house to watch? Which fight are you going to?
Just as you said about a story, Chris Smith has a fascinating story. You know, he's a very likeable lad. He's finally got his opportunity to, potentially fight for a world title. Let's hope. Outdoors in a stadium, and you can't not get behind him. Plus, there's a bit of hatred there, or bitterness there between old stable mates, which over time it might be a bit friendly in the first press conference. Second, third press conference fight week's going to be juicy, so I'd get my tickets for that. But then again, if you're a real boxing fan, you look at the depth of the undercard, and you might get a good undercard with Lee Wood's one as well.
And this is genuine, not me just on the edge of my bets. Wherever you go, it's a good night, because it's 3, like you said, that's what it's 3 fantastic fights all on the same night.
You've got 3 ticket sellers.
Yes.
So you've got CBS, Lee Wood and Michael Conlan. So anywhere you go is going to be an amazing atmosphere.
What a choice, what a dilemma. We'll be back to discuss that and to look at Ken Buchanan briefly. First of all, though, let's go to Conor McNamara one last time at Goodison.
Yeah, all over, but see, Everton won, Tottenham won. Great game. They both wanted to win it, but the share of the spoils sees both teams achieve their short-term aims for now. Everton move back out to the bottom three. Tottenham move back into the top four. They both finished with 10 men. Abdoulaye Doucouré dismissed for Everton. That was just before the hour mark. And 10 minutes later, Harry Kane gave Tottenham the lead from the penalty spot. But then another red, this time for Tottenham, for substitute Lucas Moura. And the drama wasn't over. And 90th minute, rocket from Michael Keane. It finishes Everton 1, Tottenham 1.
Conor McNamara, it's always a pleasure and a delight to work anywhere near where that man is orbiting. Fellas, we've dealt with the 3 fights on the same night. We've dealt with most of the heavyweight situation. We put them to right. I want to just spare, if we can, just grab a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes to talk about Ken Buchanan, who died on Saturday. One of the greatest British fighters, and there's a strong case for him being named as the greatest of British fighters. He was in training camp with your dad once, which it was a bizarre thing. He was sharing a room and he was typing his autobiography. What are your Ken Buchanan memories?
Well, just obviously, personally, he used to come up and always come into fight week for Josh Taylor when we would go back for.
Of course, yeah, Edinburgh Love Affair.
Yeah, but when we would be, obviously taking the fights back to the Hydro, we'd be training in Terry McCormack's gym, and he'd always pop his head in, and he was just a great insight and great mind at boxing. And Dad always talks about his time when he came over, where he went over to sparring when he was 16, and he said he came out guns blazing, and they stop, we don't spar like that here, son. If you spar like that, you're on a plane home. So he played the game. But then Dad brought him in for one of his training camps for a world title fight, and he apparently used to wear these army boots, and he'd just be going at snail's pace in his runs. And Dad said, "Are you warming up, Ken?" He said, "That's me, Barry." He says, "All right, off you go." And so he went off running, and yeah.
So Ken Buchanan sends his British title back to the board in 1969. In 1970, has a series of fights, ends up beating Ismail Agunu in 125 degrees, then fights an unbeaten Canadian who's a massive welterweight inside Madison Square Garden, sells out Madison Square Garden. There's just so many stories. We don't have enough time. We should have dedicated a whole hour to Ken Buchanan. What's your Ken Buchanan?
You've got a guy from Edinburgh here who made Madison Square Garden his home.
Yes, sold out, 22,000.
Come on, it's just unheard of. Like a beautifully skillful practitioner of our sport who was as tough as anybody you've ever met in your life. That's just the perfect ingredient for the perfect fighter, and that's what he was.
And if you don't know much about Ken Buchanan, all you need to know is that on one of those nights, the 5 nights when he fought at Madison Square Garden, a certain Muhammad Ali was on his undercard, had to knock on his door to try and share his dressing room. I've told that story, it's absolutely true. Shane, listen, thank you so much for your time, thanks for your insight. I hope you get Dubois and Usyk across the line. I hope you get Chris Smith and Noah Coley across the line for May 27th. Barry, that's Barry Jones. It's been a pleasure and delight having you here, and more than that, it's been a pleasure and delight having all of you here. So we've analysed Anthony Joshua, we've looked at it, we've seen it going forward. The advice seems to be from the geniuses in this particular studio: take the fight if it comes up. With Fury, just take it. I've been Steve Bunce, and this has been 5 Live Boxing. I'm off now for a lie down. I need it. Cool. Nick Bright, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, Steve, mate. What a show, as always. An absolutely incredible affair. And you missed any of it, BBC Sounds is where you need to go. But it's me, in for Colin, late night all this week. And I'll let you know what's happening on the programme this evening of the latest BBC News.
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
With BBC News on 5 Live at 10 o'clock, I'm Richard Foster. The former Chancellor Nigel Lawson has died at the age of 91. He was in charge of the Treasury between 1983 and 1989 and became one of Margaret Thatcher's most important ministers. Boris Johnson has described him as a giant of Conservative politics. The UK ambassador to the United States, Kim Darroch, has been paying tribute.
He was a genuine and really political heavyweight. He eventually fell out with Margaret Thatcher. Remember the argument between him and Alan Walters about the original government, and eventually Nigel Lawson resigning over it. Mr. March was, I think, the beginning of the end for Margaret Thatcher.
The man who murdered 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell will spend at least 42 years in prison. Thomas Cashman shot her as he tried to kill a rival drug dealer in Liverpool last August. The judge said he'd shown no remorse for her death. Detective Superintendent Mike Baker is from Merseyside Police.
I hope that the sentence of 42 years given to Thomas Cashman today will act as a deterrent for anyone who thinks of picking up a gun and putting our communities at risk through their reckless behaviour.
Philip Schofield's brother will be sentenced next month after being convicted of sexually abusing a boy. Timothy Schofield, who's 54 and from Bath, was found guilty of 11 offences. The TV presenters welcomed the verdict and says that as far as he's concerned, he no longer has a brother. Donald Trump has landed in New York ahead of his court appearance there tomorrow. He's facing charges related to hush money payments to the porn star Stormy Daniels about an alleged affair before the 2016 election. Our correspondent Nada Torfik is in Times Square.
It really is quite something that less than 24 hours away and these details are still being hammered out. For example, we still don't know if he will have to take a mugshot when he arrives at the district attorney's office and the courthouse. There is still the issue of whether cameras will be allowed to capture this moment.
The head of the National Education Union, Mary Bouston, has told 5 Live the latest planned strikes are a reflection of just how frustrated and angry teachers are. Staff in England are due to walk out again on the 27th of April and the 2nd of May as that pay dispute continues. And NASA's announced the names of 4 astronauts it's hoping to send around the moon next year. The 3 Americans and 1 Canadian will make up the crew of Artemis 2. It's a 10-day mission that will fly next to the moon before heading back to Earth.
BBC 5 Live, the voice of sport, the Masters 2023, live from Augusta.
It's anyone's game. Taps it forward and misses. This is just extraordinary. The biggest names in the golfing world compete to go home wearing the historic green jacket. His first start, and he is the Masters champion.
Who knows what this momentous course has in store for us this time?
The Masters 2023
Starts Thursday night from 8 on 5 Sports Extra.
Colin Murray, weeknights, BBC Radio 5 Live, evening nights.
Welcome along then to Monday night. I'm Nick Wright sitting in for Colin all this week then. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you. Pressure, maybe a bit, but bring it on, I say. Loads to get through as always, and you are an integral part of the conversation in this programme, as you already know. 85058 on the text, at BBC 5 Live on Twitter. Right, the circus has come to town in New York as Trump touches down tonight in the Big Apple. First president ever to be indicted faces court tomorrow. Pat Nevin will give us his reaction to the sacking of Graham Potter. Probably not the first time we've had him on to talk about the departing Chelsea manager. Sorry, not sorry, Pat, but it's the truth. And it's 50 years, right, since the first mobile phone call was made. Did anyone know what they were letting themselves in for? 7.3 billion people have a mobile. That's more than 90% of the world's population. What a stat that is. The Live Monday Night Fan Club takes a breather, but will celebrate some of the best and weirdest ones so far. From crows to Tony Hancock to ordnance survey maps. 1 hour with the best guests possible on one subject suggested by you. All that to come, but first we'll get across the day's main stories then. And as you've just been hearing in the news, the former Conservative Chancellor Nigel Lawson has died aged 91. He was a key part of Margaret Thatcher's government, has had a number of key cabinet positions. Some may also know him as the father of celebrity TV chef Nigella Lawson. Well, let's speak to our political correspondent Sean Dillon. Now, Sean, you were based at Westminster for many years, and he was a pivotal figure in the Conservative Party.
And indeed for the country, whether people were Conservative supporters or not, whether they loved the local, of course, in different directions. He was very much a supporter of Margaret Thatcher's economic policies. He supported privatisation. He was the energy minister who ran preparations for the coal mine strikes of 1984, by which point in 1983 he'd been promoted by Margaret Thatcher in June of that year to be Chancellor of the Exchequer. So a little bit of a look at his background. He was working until December of last year as Baron Lawson of BlackVue. He was born in 1932. He was an MP for that BlackVue constituency all the way points and also some things background. Mr. Sunak, the Prime Minister, said that one of the first things that Mr. Sunak, did as Chancellor of the Exchequer was to hang a picture of Nigel Lawson above his desk. He said that he was a transformational Trump and an inspiration to him and many others. His thoughts, he said, were with his friends and family at this time. Colin, I think it's fair to say, just to remind listeners of the fact that he championed this wider shared ownership notion. He reduced personal taxes and market economics, but also, although there would be very many Conservative supporters who would support that written in the 1980s, others, his critics, blamed him for failing to control a boom which some said was down to the low cost of borrowing. He would remain with Margaret Thatcher as a loyal lieutenant until 1989. He ultimately would resign over a disagreement with the way the IMA, the Margaret Thatcher later Baroness Thatcher, dealt with key aspects of policy, including that around the European Union and the EU generally, which plunged her government into crisis, echoes that we've seen with subsequent Conservative governments since then.
He was in his 90s. Are there many people who were in politics at the same time as him still around?
Oh yes, I mean, people in the 1970s who were in Parliament may not be still in Westminster now, but I mean, you think of George Young, 1974, described often as the Conservative brandy, was in those infamous, I don't know if anybody's seen those BBC Parliament reruns of the 1974 election, the year of two elections, with the Lib Lab pact. You've got an awful lot of people who were around then. Of course, there would be people like John Whittingdale, the former Culture Secretary. So there are people that we can remember who would have worked with him, Ken Clark from Rushcliffe, of course, but it doesn't really matter whether people knew him personally. Everybody, whether a Conservative supporter or not a Conservative supporter, would have been touched in one way or another. There would have been a lot of people who really didn't like his politics. Margaret Thatcher herself, much wherever you stand, you considered to be a divisive person. Some people loved him, some people loathed him. He was the backbone of that policy, and many have argued, incidentally, that when he resigned in 1989, very loyal lieutenants of hers at the time, that precipitated, some would argue, others such as Michael Heseltine, to take a stand against her premiership. So, he was a pivotal figure. The economic policies that he put into place now in form Chancellor of the Exchequer of Labour, Conservative, and any form really, financial secretary to the Treasuries, we had this Liberal Democrat under the David Cameron, Nick Clegg coalition government. They look very closely at this boom bust scenario, something which Gordon Brown, once as Chancellor of the Exchequer, said that he'd hoped to get rid of. Those who remember this, of course, can think of the interest rates, the very high interest rates towards the end of the 80s. Again, you can look at the national debt towards the earlier parts of the 80s. This was a man who had his hands on the levers of the economy. Some, depending on political ideologies, may argue that ultimately it did great harm to the country. Others would argue that it did great good to the country. Certainly, income tax thresholds were lowered across the board.
As you were just saying a little bit earlier, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak described him as a transformational Chancellor and an inspiration to him and many others. So very much still a name that's respected by those in the party today.
Yes, let's take a look at some of those. Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister, has described him as a giant of Tory politics. The Foreign Secretary James Cleverly has called Lawson a true statesman. Just look to the fact that obviously he served with Margaret Thatcher's government and sat in the House of Lords right the way through until December, so that's a really long time, 1974, right the way through to 2022. Boris Johnson, though, said that he was a fearless and original flame of free market conservatism. He was a tax cutter, he simplified whole transforms the economic landscape and help millions of British people. And again, it comes back to the point as to why so many people listening may see that as